Hello, welcome back to Learn Oikonomia. In this video, we are going to discuss a very famous model, that is HARROD Domaer Growth Model. Let's see that. Coming to introduction, what we could see is that there have been many theories which describes and explains the process of economic growth. And these are certain models which we call as growth models. And these models would be setting out or laying down some quantitative relationship between some crucial and critical variables in a rigorous form. And HARROD Domaer growth model is one such model. Let's see that. It's very important to see that the HARROD Domaer growth model, even though these are two separate models, these are integrated together for the similarities they are having. So first of all, we will be discussing the HARROD model, then we go on to see the Domaer model, then we will be integrating the two models. That is how the video would be considering the HARROD Domaer growth model. Okay, so coming to the HARROD model first. This model is put forward by a very famous economist, R.F. Harrod, and he was explaining about the steady growth rate in the economy, and he says that this could be attained with fixed capital output ratio as well as the fixed propensity to save. And fixed capital output ratio is also known as the K by Q ratio. Here K stands for capital and Q stands for output. Okay, and fixed propensity to save, fixed tendency for a economy to save, that is fixed propensity to save. So both these are assumed to be fixed. Now, the model also explains certain conditions which need to be satisfied in order to maintain this steady growth rate. So, we have to satisfy certain conditions. Only if you satisfy certain conditions as specified by this model, you will be able to maintain the steady growth rate. And the model also elaborates the role of some natural resources which will be putting a ceiling on the growth rate of the economy. What is ceiling? It shows the upper limit. Okay, so let's proceed. Moving to the statement of the model. Actually, this model is based on three important growth rates in the economy. And Harrod had identified the role of actual growth rate in the economy, which he represents as G. So, G is the actual growth rate in the economy. So, what I was trying to say is that the actual growth rate, this is being represented as capital G, and this shows the real rate of increase in the GDP. What is GDP? Gross domestic product. So, the per year real rate of increase in GDP is being taken and represented as G, which is the actual growth rate in Harrod's model. Moving to the second growth rate, that is called the warranted growth rate. You represent it as GW. It shows the growth rate that you can attain at the full employment level in the economy. Moving to the final and the third growth rate is called the natural growth rate, and this is represented as GN. So this would be the maximum growth rate that could be attained by an economy when the natural resource of that economy is given. So this is something which you can determine by going for some macroeconomic variables like population, technology, other natural resources in the economy, etc. Let's see more about the model. The model has got certain policy implications. The model is something that you can consider. The model is something that you can consider to make some policies. The model was giving some possibilities in the economy. It says that if at all your natural growth rate, if this is something that is less than the warranted growth rate. Then this will be increasing the aggregate demand in the economy. So what here happens is that this is natural growth rate that you can attain given your natural resources, and this is the warranted growth rate that you will be having at the full employment level. So if the natural growth rate is something that would be less than the warranted growth rate, or your warranted growth rate if it is more than the natural growth rate, if this is something that is happening, your aggregate demand will be increasing. And what is the other side? This will be reducing your saving in the economy. Because you know that your income is a sum total of consumption and saving. You will be spending your income for consumption and saving. When the C part increases, the S part automatically comes down whenever the income is constant. Now, what is the other scenario? Whenever your natural growth rate that you can attain given your natural resources, when that is more than the warranted growth rate, this shows that there would be a reduction in saving that will lead to what is known as inflation in the economy. So inflation would be increased here. So this will be increasing inflation in the economy. Okay. So let's see further. Now, HARROD model can also be used to explain the trade cycle. As per HARROD, whenever the warranted growth rate is more than the natural growth rate at a full employment level, this will be leading to a recessionary situation in the economy. The warranted is something that will be happening at the full employment level, and this natural is something that will be happening given your natural resources. So whenever you warranted, this is more, this will lead to recession. On the other hand, if the natural growth rate is more than the warranted growth rate, again at full employment level, this will lead to two possibilities. Let's see the two possibilities. So we have to think about a very strong possibility that would be happening in the long run, which would be riding about the natural growth rate. So if this happens, if the situation happens like this will lead to a situation of depression. But if the warranted growth rate is not able to overtake the natural growth rate, again in the long run, this will lead to a situation of inflation. Okay. Now, HARROD, even though explains the different scenarios that can have in the economy, there exists some criticisms that are being faced in HARROD model. What happens in a real life situation is that there is no evidence when it comes to the fixed saving ratio, fixed growth rate of labor force, etc., or fixed production function, etc. So fixed saving ratio, fixed growth rate of labor force, fixed saving function, fixed production function, all these are something you are not able to see in a real life scenario, and for that very same reason you don't have any evidence for this. And also there exist many other factors that will be improving the economic growth. For example, the role of technology. This is not identified by HARROD. For the very same reason, HARROD model is being criticized vigorously. By discussing HARROD's model, let's move on to Dormer's model. The model given by Dormer, this model explains that what can be done so that we can maintain the full employment equilibrium in the economy. So he was explaining what should be the growth rate, what should be the particular level of growth rate, that fixed particular level of growth rate, so that we can maintain the full employment equilibrium in the economy. And he explains that. Also, the model further explains the various conditions which we can satisfy in order to attain the full employment equilibrium and maintenance of the same. Let's see these. So this model assumes certain aspects here. The model assumes that employment is a function of utilization ratio. And what is utilization ratio? It shows the ratio that we can have between the actual output and productive capacity. So it's a ratio between actual output and productive capacity. Let actual output be A and productive capacity be P. So A is to P, this will represent the utilization ratio. And productive capacity, we can increase it by a given ratio. So you just need to consider the present as well as the past consumption. Present as well as the past investment, so that you can see whether you have increased your productive capacity or reduced your productive capacity. Okay. This model too has got certain implications. The model in the very beginning itself says that there exists there is a need for some sufficient investment. Why do we need some sufficient investment? Because if you want to utilize the resources of the economy fully without wastage, you need some investment. If you want to ensure that your economy is producing more in future as per the increased demand, again you need investment. So the role of investment is very much crucial when it comes to Domar's model. Having discussed Dorman's model, we are going to combine the HARROD and Dorman model now. So as I have told you in the very beginning, both these models differ in its details, but the ideas of the two models are so similar, and that is why you are integrating these two models, and that is why these two models are presented as a single united model, which we call as the HARROD Doman model. Let's see the model. The very essence of HARROD Doman model tells us that unless and until we have capital formation, unless and until we have increase in national income, so unless and until both of these, the capital formation and national income, unless and until both of these go side by side, you cannot sustain your growth for long. You might be having some growth, but that growth will be a very short-term growth. If you want to have a long-term growth, you have to make both these factors go side by side. And also this model have considered both the sides of the coin. It has considered the supply side as well as the demand side when it comes to investment process. Okay. So what we could see is that this particular model, the HARROD Doman model, had integrated the classical as well as the Keynesian analysis. The classicals were always giving importance to supply side, whereas Keynesian analysis, or Keynes and his followers, they always gave importance to demand side. The model, even though it was giving emphasis to supply side, it was also giving emphasis to demand side. So what we could see is that the model was trying to make a mix of both classical and Keynesian analysis. Moving to the substance of HARROD Doman model, what you could see is that the investment that you have in the economy will be having two important roles in the economy. First of all, it will be influencing the aggregate demand in the economy, and also it will be influencing the aggregate supply in the economy. So whenever this happens, whenever it influences the aggregate demand and aggregate supply in the economy, what happens is that first thing, it increases the productive capacity of the economy. Now there would be some income increase that will be having as a result of multiplier effect. So there will be an initial investment in the economy which would be autonomous. Now there would be an increase in income. This will lead to induced investment, which will again lead to increase in income, isn't it? So what this model was trying to say is that the first effect that it would be having on the economy is that it will be affecting the aggregate demand and aggregate supply. Then it will be increasing the productive capacity, and this productive capacity will be increasing the income through multiplier effect. Now, with the increase in the productive capacity of the economy, what happens is that there will be an increase in output production. And whenever you increase output, you need more laborers to increase output. As a result, you will be having more employment. And this too will be depending upon your marginal propensity to save, whether you are saving more or whether you are consuming more. Okay. The theory substance is again something what is revolving around the three growth rates that we have in the economy as given by HARROD. So we are back to the discussion of actual growth rate, warranted growth rate and natural growth rate. And what the two models, when you take these as together, what this model says that whenever you have equality between the three growth rate, like whenever you have your actual growth rate is equal to your warranted growth rate is equal to your natural growth rate, this will be ensuring a full employment of labor and capital stock in the economy. You will be fully utilizing your capital as well as labor in the economy. And also this model explains trade cycles very well. And how? Here you need two growth rate, the actual growth rate as well as the natural growth rate. If at all your natural growth rate is something that is lesser than the actual growth rate, that means your actual growth rate is more but your natural growth rate is less. You will be having some resources but you are not fully utilizing some resources. That means you are discussing a situation of unemployment of resources. That certain resources are unemployed. So this will be happening in the recovery phase of the economy. The economy might be in a recession before, but now from recession it would be recovery. Now what happens if the actual growth rate is equal to natural growth rate? This is a stage where you can have a full utilization or full employment of resources without wasting anything. And on the other hand, if the actual growth rate is less than the natural growth rate, the natural growth rate is more, then you are having a slowdown situation or a slump situation or a false situation. Now, having discussed the HERIT model separately, the Dorman model separately, and the HERIT and Dorman models together, we have to understand that the model is not free from limitation. It has got a lot of limitations. The first limitation is that the model was assuming a constant propensity to save and a constant capital output ratio. And this is being questioned by many people. What these economists who have questioned this particular assumption say is that if at all these parameters change, this will be leading to change in the steady growth rate as well. Because we are dealing with a real life scenario, and real life scenario is full of asymmetric information, uncertainty, etc. So you cannot assume a situation of fixed or constant propensity to save and constant capital output ratio situation. For the very same reason, this will be changing and this will make the steady growth rate to change. So when the economy grows, you have to identify the relative importance of all the three sectors. You have to identify the role of primary sector, we have to identify the role of secondary sector, and we have to identify the role of tertiary sector. All these are the different sectors that we have in the economy. Okay. Now, moving to the next limitation. The model again assumes that the requirements of capital and labor per unit of output are constant. You know that we are dealing with a production situation where we will have different factors of production, and these factors are not perfect substitute each other. You cannot perfectly substitute labor for capital or capital for labor, but you can have some limited substitution. Limited substitution is possible. But we are not dealing with the situation of perfect substitution. Again, the model was very much worried. Both these economists, when they were constructing the model, they were very much worried about the steady growth rate. And for the very same reason, they were neglecting the rate of actual growth in the economy. And this is what we are focusing when it comes to developing economies. The developing economies always want an increase in their growth rate. They don't want a steady growth rate. Just take the example of India. India always want India to increase its growth rate, and that is why it is going for certain policies, programs, schemes, in the implementation of these, etc. So we want to grow further. We don't want a steady growth rate. So from that perspective also, this model is being criticized. Again, the model was not considering the role of government. It was based on a laissez-faire policy. It says that even if you have a government, let the government just be playing some limited role. The government should not intervene or interfere in the market activities. But this is not what we see in developing economies like India. In the developing economy like India, what we can see is that the government is extensively taking part in the development of the economy. It is spending a lot. It is making several interventions in the economy so as to develop the nation. Again, we can see that the model is being constructed on the basis of aggregates. That means you cannot go for the interrelationship between different sectors. And whenever you are not able to identify the interrelations between sectors, what happens is that how can you demonstrate or represent some structural changes in the economy? So that too is not possible when it comes to HARROD Domain model. From that perspective also, the model is being criticized. So that's all about the HARROD Domain model. Thank you for watching. You can like, share and subscribe to this channel for more videos. Also, you can download the Learn Oikonomia app. I'll be providing the link of the very same in the description box. You can also join our Telegram community, which is a free thing that you can do. I'll be providing the link of that too in the description box. You can join from there as well. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Kindly like, share and subscribe to this channel for more videos. Thank you.